Hey, hope you're doing well. We're going to go ahead and dump right in and talk about our lap here a little bit. Uh, just wanted to make a comment about warming tires and getting ready for the start. Most of this outlap, you're just kind of tooling around, following the line. It'd be a good idea to, maybe a little bit of weaving, but definitely a lot of accelerating and braking, maybe dragging the brakes a little bit with your left foot while you're doing the right. There's a little weaving, but you have to be pretty aggressive with it to be effective, so that slowly going back and forth is not going to do much, especially if you're getting really offline and picking up dirty stuff. It could even be negative. So just make sure you're trying to stay roughly on the line. Lots of accelerating and braking in first gear will be most effective. And then maybe a little bit of weaving. You like if you get in a section like this with some corners, you can maybe hang back and accelerate through to kind of lean on the car a little bit through the corner. Um, but all of that will help build some tire temp. Jump ahead. Right. Another thing I noticed was a lot of your shifting is early, especially if you're around other cars, you're short shifting a lot. And you do that on the starts a bit. Just watching the tack over here. I assume the motor will rev to 6,500 or so, which is about where my mouse is. That one you're at six. Maybe 65.7 there. The other short video that you posted had a little bit of, like you're shifting at 5 grand, stuff like that. So definitely want to monitor that and make sure you're using the power band effectively. Um, Maybe even a shift light, especially for starts when you can't really hear yourself as well. I don't have too much of a problem with the start here as far as placement. Obviously, kind of got hung out on the outside. But some of it also is knowing when to give up. So, you've lost a lot of ground now because you hung out on the outside of the right-hander so long. Um, and, likely that wasn't going to work. So maybe falling back into line to get a better run out of here would have been a good idea just to not lose quite as much time. And then pretty conservative on the braking here. Yeah, tires are maybe a little bit cool still, but you want to be, closer to your normal lapping braking points, especially because you came out of the previous corner slow, so you're not arriving at, turn three very quickly. General, not too bad on this first lap. I was going to get to where we were racing a little bit. So here on the back straightaway, obviously making up some time on the Legends car, pull out, that's good. One thing though is you don't want to go much further to, offline than you have to, partly because it'll get dirty, but mostly because this other car is not going to see you as well the further away from the door you are. If you're right up next to him, it's a lot easier for him to see you in his mirrors and, probably hear you also. If you're way over here to the side, then you get in a bit of a blind spot to them, and that becomes more of an issue when you get down here into the corner. So now you've driven basically all the way to the left. He's more or less out on the line, and you're so far off his rear quarter that he probably can't see it. He knows you went over there, but he can't see your nose because you're not up next to him. And you're so far off to his left that he can't really see you in the mirror very well. Whereas if you were right up next to him, just a couple inches apart or whatever, a foot or two apart instead of a car width apart, you might be able to see you a little bit better. Still, he gives you a nice room, which is good. You kind of have another go at him up here, if I remember right. Yeah, so nothing too much to say there. Obviously, he was defensive. That was appropriate. So no big deal. Let me see. Yeah, he had another little go at him in the last corners. Obviously, he's being defensive. It's hard to tell, how far up he is, but you guys are giving each other room. That's all good. Here, though, when you're no longer going to be right next to the guy, it would be better to give up a little bit in the middle of the two corners to try to give yourself a better run out of the final corner. So, once you get here, you're behind him. Rather than trying to run a wide line, it'd be better to, tuck in, get a little bit more steering angle here so that you're closer to that apex and you can get to power sooner because now he's gotten a little bit of a jump on you and it takes half the straightaway to catch back up to him. Obviously you've got the power to go around him, but you just want him, if it's another car that's maybe more equal to yours, we want to get as good a run out of that corner as we can to set him up. I think you kind of leave him. Just keep skipping ahead here. So we catch up to the yellow Legends car. We got some other kind of out of class traffic coming through. I don't remember there being anything special about that. He kind of did what I was talking about, with giving himself a better run so that he could get the straightaway started quicker and get up alongside. Um, you kind of start to follow him in. Again, I would say that's a bit of a late move and way too far left. It worked out, but in like a lot of cases with somebody that's maybe a little bit more aggressive, they're probably not going to give it to you quite as much. Skip on ahead here again. So now we've got a TA2, another stock car coming through. Nothing too inappropriate there. All that's good. I don't remember if there were too many other battles. That's like about it. Yeah, cool out. So, most of the racecraft stuff was in the beginning of the lap there, and obviously, there's going to be times where you got to be offline a fair amount in order to deal with other traffic and other cars, but you got to prioritize in those same moments. You kind of improvise and adapt to make your line the best for what you're looking for, what your next move is. And so rather than, like we were talking about in the case of the Red Legends car, rather than thinking I just gotta stay with the outside line or whatever and gotta stay beside him, a lot of times it's better to back it up, get space, and give yourself a better run. Maybe you could have finished off this move a little bit if you had been deeper on the brakes, but outbraking a tiny little 1,000-pound car is going to be tough. And so, once you get here, you need to switch your strategy towards getting the run out of the next corner, not trying to stick with them or stay side by side with them. Usually in racing, you want to spend the least amount of time side by side with somebody as possible. You want to start the pass, initiate the pass, and complete it as quickly and effectively as you can. The longer you spend next to somebody, the more time you're losing to other cars that you might catch up, that might be ahead that you need to get up with. um, and the more risk you put yourself in for having contact or getting off in dirty areas of the track that might cause problems. So you want to get those passes done as effectively as possible, and especially when you're outbraking to the inside of somebody, you want to stay closer to their door, both to give them visibility of where you are, but also to control them a little bit. So like when you start getting down towards the corner here, when you're getting close to the turn in, if you're up next to him and say you've got more overlap where your front bumpers are kind of close to each, the same, you control that car by being right next to him. If you are way over to the left, then they have the ability to start turning in, before you're ready to turn in. You want to make sure you're holding them in the position where you want them to be so that it's, best for you to get back to, the ideal line as quickly as possible. By giving them too much freedom to move around, they can turn in on you, or they can, just have more freedom to carry more speed in. And now you're compromising your entry a lot by being really far to the inside. So it's kind of a double whammy. Um, but you can have, better outcome by controlling them and getting yourself back on the ideal line a little bit sooner. Let me switch over and get your other video up real quick. So pretty well lined up here. You get coming out of the nice, the last corner pretty well. It would be nice to be maybe a little bit closer to that car in front. You can see the car in the left of you is a little bit closer to the car they're following. You really want to be within a car length, maybe even a half car length. Looks like you got maybe a car and a half between the two of you. Um, and then this was the one where you short shifted a lot. So as soon as you go green, you shift right there about 5 grand. People start to get a little bit of a pull on you. This is a good move, getting down the inside, passing that other stock car. Obviously, these Legends or the Thunder Roadster guys are being pretty aggressive, so not bad call to probably just let them have at it. Pretty good job up here also, and being a little bit deeper on the brakes than you were in the previous start. But also, you gotta have to pick up, pick some place where you can start to get in line. And so, if you go through one and two, and these Thunder Roadsters are two and three wide and going around you, and you want to slide in behind them, great. Get a spot right here behind that white one where you can then be closer to the apex and feed power. Now you get stuck beside the red, white, and blue car, and you have a little bit of a go up the outside, not really trying to, get up past him. It looks like you're just trying to stay, at speed. But here, now that he's ahead of you, you need to, and I can see that there's maybe a yellow car off your rear quarter. But once you get out here, you get a little bit of a jump on that car, and we want to try to slot in order to straighten our exit. So at some point in these corners, between the two corners, you want to prioritize trying to get back to the apex. The longer you spend outside with lots of steering angle, the longer it's going to take you to get back to throttle. If back here at this kind of midpoint, the track out between the two, if you can start to tighten the radius and slot in behind the black car a little bit, then you can straighten your, now you're clear of his bumper. You can start to go towards the apex a little bit and try to straighten your corner so that you can get back to power and not continue losing spaces. So, yes, when you're back before turn three and you're next to that red, white, and blue car, you don't want to just give up down the straightaway. Um, but at some point, fighting to stay around the outside, or is giving up a, a better line to somebody else that's going to continue to freight train you like this. And so you have to kind of give up and decide when you want to get single file, just for the sake of giving yourself a better exit so you don't continue to lose spaces. Um, Easier said than done sometimes, but just thinking in terms of, I've got to be in the outside lane now forever, is going to let this other lane just continue to pass you. And at some point, you got to try to prioritize merging, even if it means, sacrificing the inside or the entrance of this corner a little bit in order to tuck in behind red, white, and blue car, or after this corner to tuck in behind the black car. At some point, you really have to focus more on merging and getting nearer to the normal line, if you will. So hopefully some of that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. Good luck in the next one.